Hello and welcome to this news hour. I'm Daniel Kasahon with the news. Press Secretary of Office of the Prime Minister refers Twitter statements of USA is baseless for including the Ethiopian National Defense Force in stealing aids like TPLF militants are doing. The Press Secretary Bilene Seyum told ETV yesterday the Director of USAID Mission Ethiopia, Sean Jones, shouldn't be melancholic for the TPLF terrorist groups. She also highlighted the Ethiopian Defense Force is a formal, institutionalized organization led by Code of Ethics. Let's take a look at the details.
Is, I think, the worst case. We are very confident that in recent weeks we have seen TPLF soldiers emptying some of the warehouses.
Recently, Director of USAID Mission Ethiopia, Sean Jones, had exclusive interview with EBC and didn't shy away from exposing the terrorist TPLF group who have been pursuing its destructive moves irresponsibly. He mentioned there was a lot of theft that is still occurring in the war-affected areas, and it was in the know-how of the Director, Sean Jones, that aid resources have been reaching the militants of TPLF, but it is too late for the Director to admit the scandal now. During that time, Press Secretary Bilene Seyum recalled the government of Ethiopia claimed that aid organizations have been identified as taking side with the militants of TPLF and acting contrary to their mandate.
The federal government has been making the indication that humanitarian assistance is not only being bottlenecks are being created by TPLF in order for humanitarian assistance to reach the needy people of Tigray, but that they are also siphoning off. So we have had material evidence as of last week that you've seen images where TPLF fighters are also siphoning off humanitarian assistance from these particular organizations as well. So whether it's late or not, I think it's important that this acknowledgement has come from the humanitarian actors themselves. But for me, I think the question I would put is, why is the international media only amplifying it when it's coming from international organizations, whereas the government has been repeatedly saying, because we had factual information on the ground, that TPLF is looting humanitarian assistance intended for beneficiaries and not for fighters.
The press secretary reiterated she has firm belief that the Ethiopian Defense Force is a formal, institutionalized organization led by Code of Ethics.
And insinuating that the Ethiopian National Defense Forces has been looting humanitarian assistance, then that is categorically wrong. Because I think we've already, even in Dr. Eyoub's statement, he has been intimating how there's been a public support that a lot of the resources that are going to the National Defense Forces are being supported by the Ethiopian people. In addition to public rallying to support the National Defense Forces for any items and resources that they need, there has been also, institutional support that is going in. So I think it's a hasty generalization if this is reference to the National Defense Forces. It lacks evidence. It needs to be evidence-based, just in the same manner that it had been shown that TPLF forces were actually in possession of stolen humanitarian assistance. Then we need to also substantiate it with facts, because I don't believe that the NDF forces have done that, or there have been any incidents around that. And it might be sympathy for the aggressor, or giving the illusion of sympathy for the aggressor, when we know where the humanitarian assistance is being looted. And this is not in the code of conduct of the National Defense Forces at all.
It is better late than ever. Finally, one of the TPLF rebels' misconducts is well exposed publicly, and it will be a matter of time. The hidden atrocities will get light to share their pictures. Now it's time to share you some points from the media, and here with me is Sintayo Tamrat, our staff reporter, and he has selections from the media. What have you brought for us, please?
Well, I do have just 3 points, and the first one is just related with a story just run, and that is just the reactions of the global media and some US Senate officials on the looting of humanitarian aid by the TPLF army, and also the Safaricom telecom operation in Ethiopia, as well as yesterday Kenya's cabinet secretary of the foreign affairs was here in Ethiopia, and I would like to just talk on these issues. And first, various global media outlets and politicians, particularly in the US Senate, are just reacting on the looting by the TPLF on humanitarian aid warehouses. And this came after the ABC reporter Solomon Danye talked to the US aid mission head in Ethiopia, St. John's, and the news went viral. And then after some US politicians and humanitarian agencies globally, as well as various global news outlets, have been saying a lot on the issue. For example, here I do have...
Still, the issue is inactive.
Sure, active. And Senate Foreign Relations Committee said, I'm disturbed by reports of TPLF looting of US aid warehouses in Ethiopia. Those who block humanitarian access, divert life-saving aid, and use it as a weapon against a civilian. It means to help must be held accountable, he said. And what's striking here is just 2 points. The government of Ethiopia, before the ceasefire and during the 8-month-long military operation in Tigray, was trying to report the similar lootings by TPLF soldiers in different warehouses, but none from the international community tried to intervene this. None from the global media tried to report on this. However, currently, the global community is just reacting this way, as the United States agency said this. And also, they are just using different footages and pictures for their stories. I mean, the stories they took from ABC. And they are just using pictures they took while the TPLF army was just breaking the warehouses, transporting aid materials and so on. And these are just concerning the first point. And second, Safaricom Ethiopia PLC updates the government on the progress so far it made here in Ethiopia to start the telecom service, and the top officials of the private telecom service, as well as just government officials, talked on the issue recently. And the meeting focused on the progress updates so far and how the Safaricom and the consortium in general is trying to start service in as scheduled. And maybe just to update my audience on this, $8.5 billion is expected to be invested by this telecom operator in Ethiopia for the next 10 years. And it is also expected to create 1.5 million jobs. And currently, Safaricom is hiring staff to start operation. And it is also expected that it will announce the launching of the official launching of operation today.
That's great, yeah.
And finally, I have an issue related with Ethiopia, and Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, Demeke Mekonnen, had a discussion with Rachel Omamo, who is Cabinet Secretary of the Foreign Affairs of Kenya yesterday. And Demeke tweeted after the discussions that the two sides have discussed bilateral and regional issues of common concern, including the situation in the northern part of Ethiopia, the negotiation over the GERD, and the Ethio-Sudan border issue. And Demeke appreciated the long-standing fraternal and peaceful relationship between the two countries. He also thanked Kenya for supporting Ethiopia's cause during the recently held UN Security Council meeting on GERD, and also the security meeting, the council's meeting on the situation in North Ethiopia. And these are just the points that I have for today.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Santiago.
You're welcome.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has stressed the need to intensify economic integration among African nations to get out of poverty and insecurity. The Prime Minister noted the time for Africa is now. Together, the nation can climb faster out of the pit of poverty, insecurity, and begging for dignity. The Prime Minister underscored that through economic integration, African nations can tap their resources and knowledge and collectively realize Agenda 2063 of the African Union. President Salvador Dode has been nominated as one of the 100 most influential African women in 2021. In the quest for inspiring the next generation of women in Africa, Evans Media, through its Girls Empowerment Project, Be a Girl, launched the annual publication highlighting and celebrating the astounding accomplishments of 100 women from Africa, dubbed 100 Most Influential African Women. Filsen Abdullahi, Freot Amro, and Bethlehem Tlaun are the other Ethiopians included for their excellence in leadership and performance, personal accomplishments, and commitment to sharing knowledge, breaking the status quo, being an accomplished African woman. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister Rachel Omamo expressed her country's resolute commitment to help maintain Ethiopia's national unity and realize its prosperity. In her discussion with the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Demeke Mekonnen, she also assured Kenya's interest to cement bilateral ties with Ethiopia. The two also discussed Ethiopia's security issues, trilateral negotiations on the GERD, and the Ethio-Sudan border disputes. Alua Teklamaram reports.
How are you? I'm very well, Excellency.
Ethiopia and Kenya are intensifying cooperation at the global and regional levels. They reaffirm commitment to strengthen bilateral ties in various areas as part of the growing bilateral partnership with Ethiopia. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister Rachel Omamo made an official visit to Ethiopia Thursday. Upon arrival at the Addis Ababa Bole International Airport, she was received a warm welcome by State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Birtukan Ayano. Her visit to Ethiopia heralds the amplification of Ethio-Kenyan ties, it was noted. Spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dina Mufti, said Kenya expressed its resolute commitment to help maintain Ethiopia's national unity and realize prosperity via its Foreign Affairs Minister.
The guests confirmed and reiterated Kenya's firm commitment and determination towards supporting Ethiopia's stability and prosperity, and the support they have lent to Ethiopia at international fora, the United Nations Security Council. The Deputy Prime Minister also expressed Ethiopia's gratitude towards what Kenya has done in this regard.
The spokesperson also said Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Demeke Mekonnen and his Kenyan counterpart Rachel Omamo discussed Ethiopia's security issues, trilateral negotiations on GERD, and the Ethio-Sudan border disputes.
They held discussions on bilateral relations. They have cited the deep historic relationship existing between the two countries and the current friendly ties as well. In the meantime, they have also held discussions on strengthening bilateral relations in various areas. They have also held discussions on the regional issues of the common concern, on strengthening peace and stability of the region, on strengthening integrations of the regional states. They've cited the threats and the opportunities prevailing in the region as well. The discussion held between, particularly the Deputy Prime Minister has briefed the guest on the current situation in Ethiopia, particularly on the northern part of Ethiopia. He briefed her also on the status of the Renaissance Dam negotiations, trilateral negotiations on the Renaissance Dam, on the Ethio border Ethio-Sudanese border situation as well.
Economically, Ethiopia and Kenya have invested in cross-border infrastructure. The Addis Ababa-Nairobi road project was launched in 2012 as part of the efforts being made to consolidate the ties of the two sisterly nations.
A scholar says the United States government should relinquish its misguided and accusatory approach against Ethiopia by way of maintaining its long-standing relationship with a strategic partner in the whole region. In an exclusive interview with ETV, an advisor and commentator on constitution and peace building, Adam Kasef, further underscored that the terrorist TPLF used the unilateral ceasefire to wage an offensive assault on Amhara and Tigray with the hope of grabbing international media attention. Gushmal reports.
Recently, the Biden administration and some Western countries' misguided interference in the domestic affairs of some African nations like Ethiopia have only strained their relationship with strategic partners. Ethiopia has also been a strategic ally of the West. Notwithstanding this, the US government and its Western allies have this time begun putting undue pressure against this nation to restore their mercenary TPLF. Talking to ETV, Adam Kasey warned that the interventionist policy by the US government may cost it the loss of its strategic partner Ethiopia.
The relations between Ethiopia and the United States government have been the lowest in recent history. And this is partly because of what I consider has been a very ad hoc, unsystematic engagement, and as a result, unproductive contributions from the United States government. I think the option of resorting to more accusatory and punitive measures has exacerbated the situation rather than offering mutually acceptable pathways out of the conflict that the country finds itself in. Overall, I think the engagement has been unsystematic and as a result unproductive. And it's important that the government of the United States considers a more mutually acceptable and one that considers the context in the country very well to help the country get out of the crisis while still maintaining the relationships with the US. I think the relationship is still there. It's not completely broken.
The terrorist TPLF used the unilateral ceasefire for offensive against Amhara and Afar. The TPLF did this to threaten the federal government with its nightmarish capture of Addis Ababa and put undue pressure on it. On the other hand, the invasion into Afar and Amhara was also aimed as an international media stunt.
TPLF group accepts the conditions that the federal government has put forward. They are very likely to continue to fight. So the option really, the options that they have are either to continue to fight, create problems, because if they don't engage in an offensive, that would mean loss of international media coverage and loss of the attention, particularly Western attention, that the situation will get.
Adam said the unilateral ceasefire was a significant opportunity to end hostility, adding the TPLF used it for its retaliatory and vengeful project.
The declaration of the unilateral ceasefire provided perhaps the most significant opportunity for a peaceful end to the conflict. But unfortunately, the TPLF felt that they had momentum, that they wanted some leverage, and that has actually created even more hostility, has united the country as a whole, and has essentially undermined possibilities for peace. So indeed, it was the most important opening so far, and that has been squandered, and that is partly because of the offensive and I must say miscalculation again from the TPLF side.
Some Western countries and US government have long been considering the idea of running Ethiopia like a banana state. The independent nation, however, has proven unsuitable for this purpose, in that Ethiopians are wary of this colonialist mentality.
If we are stronger internally, if we have appropriate ways of addressing our challenges internally, we leave very little room for abuse or opportunistic engagement from our international friends and enemies alike. The way the Ethiopian people have mobilized in supporting the government at the moment is something that should be replicated also in terms of pursuing peace. So it is important that everybody feels that they are part of the process.
That's all for this edition. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.